Hi everyone, my name is Carl and welcome to my little quick tutorial for the Timers, Clocks and Counters pack for Unreal Engine 4. In this tutorial we're just going to look through the different blueprints that are included in the pack and how to customize them and implement them into your own project. So when you add the pack to a project, you'll see this Timers, Clocks and Counters pack folder in your content folder. And in here you'll find all the content and blueprints and everything. So if you click on that, go to the blueprints folder, you'll see all the pre-made blueprints that I've set up for you. So let's jump into it and see how it works. Firstly, let's look at the analog clock. You can just drag that into the world. Let's scale it up a bit just to make it easier to see for now. Let's turn the camera speed down a little bit. Cool. So this is the analog clock blueprint. It is set up to, by default, show the real actual system time. As you can see, it's just after 8 in the morning at the moment. And if I hit play, you'll see it ticking away. So it's a nice, easy way to instantly get something to display the actual time in your game. If you want to do that. By the way, I'm using the first-person template for Unreal Engine 4. So if you want to follow along and try this as well, you can just make a new project and use the first-person template and add the starter content. We're going to use some of the starter content later on as well. Okay, so firstly, all the blueprints that are included have a lot of settings to customize their look and make them fit nicely into your project. So for instance, let's move this away from the wall a bit. You can see currently it has like a shiny silver metal type look to it. And you can adjust the age of that easily, of the housing. And you can adjust the age of the glass to make that look old and new. And adjust the age of the face as well. On top of that, with the analog clock, we've got housing variations. This one looks more like a pocket watch type thing. We'll get to the actual pocket watch blueprint later on as well. And you can also take it away if you want to stick the clock into your own custom mesh. You can do that as well. Okay, so let's leave it at default. Face variations as well. There's a couple of face variations. You've got your plain, simple, straightforward one, and a more classic type looking one, and a cleaner one without any numbers, and then one without any print on it at all. A cool thing about these, you can go into the textures folder and you'll see all the faces are in here as separate textures, which means you can go in and if you want to export one of these, you can go to Asset Actions, Export, and then export this as an image and then open that up in Photoshop or whatever you're using. You can edit the actual face of the clock easily to be exactly what you want it to be, and then just put it back in here and it'll work in game. Okay, so let's get to the functions of this thing. Firstly, you'll see here display real time. If display real time is unticked, you can set the custom time to show over here. So let's make it 7:15. Whoop. You can just type it in, it's easier probably. And then you can adjust that second hand as well. Let's leave that at 0. You'll see there's a tick custom time checkbox here. When this is ticked, if you hit play, the clock will actually tick on from there. So you can set the time and just let it go. If that is unticked, then the clock will display the same time constantly and it won't move unless you tell it to move specifically during gameplay. Okay, so that's fairly straightforward. And like I said, you've got all these different settings you can play with. If you want to make it a more of a plastic looking thing, you can fade out the texture, turn down the metallic, adjust the color. Let's make it a nice bluish color. You can even turn down the roughness as well to make it like a shiny blue. This is hit G, take away the selection. Cool. Now you can see there's still a bit of a normal map bumps and stuff going on there. You can turn that down by adjusting the normal map strength to 0 as well. Now it's completely smooth. And in the same way you can adjust stuff for the glass, make the glass more or less opaque. Let's turn the age up. You can make it more opaque or less opaque as you see fit. The roughness is obviously just how shiny it is as well. Okay, and in the same way you can adjust the color and settings of the face as well. So if you want to make that green, maybe. There we go. Now you've got a nice modern plastic looking clock. If you want to make it more of a matte plastic look, you just turn up the roughness over here. The specular will give you that nice little bit of a shine, and that only works when metallic is less than 1. If metallic is at 1, the specular won't have an effect. Cool. So that's a clock. You can use it as you see fit and for whatever you want. Let's look at the LCD clock. Let's just scale it up for our purposes as well. Cool. Okay, firstly, this can also be set to display the actual time. So if we hit play now, by default that's always activated. You'll see it's 8:10 in the morning, where this one is on custom time. And if we want to adjust the look of this as well, there's a secondary wood material on the clock, on the housing, and then you can switch that to metal as well to have a nice brushed metal look. And with all these you can obviously adjust the roughness and stuff as well while the texture is on there. So if you want it more shiny, you can turn down the roughness. If you want it less shiny, you can turn up the roughness. If you want it less metallic and still have the texture there, you can have the texture and have it look more like a plastic type of material. So that's easy to do. A cool thing about this as well is you can adjust the color of the display. So if you want to make that a different color, maybe make it green, turn down the saturation a bit. And then you can also adjust the brightness. So let's make that. I have that kind of that old calculator look. And another cool thing to do is make it really bright. And then it gets all shiny. Oh, that's a little bit too much. Actually, let's make it a red again. Oh, for red, you can just reset this. Make it 200. There we go. And let's just set the clock to be metallic again. Default roughness. Cool. And the cool thing about this, you can, while you have all your materials and stuff applied, you can also adjust the tint. So if you want this nice metallic look and metallic texture, you can have that while still having a tint to that as well. So anything on, if you want to make it look more like a copper type of metal, you can maybe do something like this. Cool. So it's easy to customize to have any type of look you want. And if we copy that, we can look at them side by side, maybe turn down the brightness a bit, make it green, fade out the texture, make that blue, make it plastic, make it shiny, make it smooth. There we go. Make it more shiny. Nice. Cool. So as you can see, you can really customize the look to fit your specific project. And with these as well, the age has a really nice effect. If you adjust that, you want to make it old. And you can obviously go anywhere in between, either like totally old or brand new or anywhere in between that works for you. go. Cool. Okay, and a cool thing about this as well, you can set it to obviously display real time or set your own time. And then it has a 12 or 24 hour setting to it as well. So let's say it was 2:30 in the afternoon. If you set it to 24, it'll display the 14:30 time. And if you set it to 12 hours, it'll obviously be 2:30. So you can adjust the clock for the settings that you would prefer. Okay, and that's what I wanted to show you for the LCD clock. We've got another clock, the valve clock, which is one of those cool valve or vacuum tube looking things. Let's just turn this up as well for now. Okay, it has the same functionality as the LCD clock. You can also change it 12 or 24 hours and select if you wanted to display real time or a custom time set by the user. So if we deselect that, we can set a custom time over here of whatever you want. Set to 12 hours display now. So if we set it to 24, you'll get the 15:32. And with all these valve things that we'll look into, I've got a standard one, and then I've got a inverted one as well. So the inverted one is just basically upside down if you want to mount it to the underside of something. You can use these. So they're all the same. The one is just inverted without the numbers being inverted as well. Cool. So let's have a quick look at this. You've got your base variation. You can either have no base and no shield if you want to stick that directly into objects like that. Undo. So for now, let's have a quick look at this base. We've got your wooden base. The next one is a nice little brushed metal base. And all these are the same settings for age and metallic and all those things as well. So you can make that look old or new or anywhere in between. So let's just reset that. With the shields, you can either take off the shield completely or any one of the three variations applied. With the shields, you can adjust the color and age and everything as well separately. So if you want this to be more silver, you can go to the tint of the sockets and the shields and just set that to white. Now I've got a nice silver looking clock. You can also adjust the glow of the numbers to be a certain color if you want it to be a different color and a different brightness. You can do whatever you want and whatever works for you. Okay. There's a few extra options because you can adjust the refraction of the glass and the age of the glass separately and stuff like that as well. So you can just play around with these and see what all of the options do. Okay, now let's get to the interesting things. Just turn up the speed a bit. Let's implement some of the counters and the timers and stuff. Okay, so firstly, what we're going to do, let's use the LCD timer first. It looks and customizes in exactly the same way as the LCD clock, but what it basically does is you can set the time and then it counts down from that time until it reaches 0, and then it triggers an event that you can use to make stuff explode or make an alarm go off or whatever you want. So let's have a quick look. The timer type you can set to minutes and seconds. That means it'll be 30 minutes, 45 seconds, or you can set it to hours and minutes in this case. And now it'll be 2 hours and 30 minutes, the timer. And then you can set the hours, the minutes, and the seconds in the options here. So let's set it to minutes and seconds and set it to 0 minutes and 10 seconds. Now if we hit play, see it count down. until it gets to 0, and then it should stop. Okay, now nothing happened because we haven't hooked it up to anything yet. So let us make a quick bomb. So let's make a, now let's use a sphere. So this will be our bomb. Actually, an easier way to do this is if you're going to use a timer in the bomb and you don't want to hook it up to be a child actor and stuff like that, you can just make a copy of your timer, duplicate, and call it bomb. And then we go into that, and we can just add this and edit this directly here. So let's add a sphere. Sphere. Let's make it a bit smaller. 0.5. There we go. Oh, let's just turn the speed down a bit. Okay, cool. So that is our bomb for now. You can obviously, if you've got a nice bomb mesh, you can just stick this on top of that. Okay, so just add the bomb to the world. So let's just make it bigger for now. Let's make it 3 times the size. Cool. And this way you can have all your settings easily adjustable. So you can make it metal if you want. And make it really old. Let's age the glass as well a bit. 1. And the cool thing, if you turn this opacity up a bit, you'll see that glass gets all dirty and gummy. You can turn up the brightness a bit, maybe again. There we go. Okay, so let's set this time to 0 and 10. And let's just go back into our blueprint. Okay. So here you'll see this is the custom event that is triggered when the timer runs out. So if you want to add anything that happens to the bomb, let's make the bomb explode. We can just add it into here. Okay, so what we can also do is add a particle system. Particle system. Let's call that PS explosion. There we go. Okay, and if you have the starter content added, you should have a nice explosion particle system ready to use. There we go. Kaboom. Cool. Okay, so let's just set that to not auto activate, so it won't explode when the game starts. And then we can drag that and say activate. So when the timer runs out, this explosion will be activated. Let's just have a look if that works. Let's just set the timer to 5 seconds so we don't have to wait 10 seconds every time. And let's set this to 0.7 just to see the numbers a bit better. Kaboom. There we go. Cool. Cool. And another thing you can then just do is hide the bomb when it explodes so that it's not there anymore. And then just destroy it after the particle system is finished playing. Alternatively, you can just spawn a particle system instead of attaching a particle system to your bomb. And that way you can just destroy the bomb immediately. Cool. So you'll see we have another timer, a valve timer as well, which works in exactly the same way as the timer we just looked at. It just looks different. So you could have added this to your bomb as well. and have it working in exactly the same way. You'll see there's also a custom event that is triggered when the timer reaches 0. So you can just add your code in here and have it do whatever you want it to do. Cool, so now we've got a bomb. Let's see what the other counters and displays are. For that, we're going to go into our first-person pawn character blueprint. You can just click on the character and then edit the blueprint over here. So let's go into the viewport. Okay, we can delete the VR gun, the VR marker, motion controller. We're not going to use motion controls of VR at the moment. Let's just compile and see if it still works. Target must have a connection. Okay, so this is the spawn projectile. You can just delete these. Bloop. Find the other one. Delete that. Compile. There we go. So I don't have those things to worry about. Okay, so let us add a child actor to the gun. Child actor. Let's call this ammo display. Okay, we can position that over here. Okay, and as you can see now, the gun is moving, but our little child actor is staying in exactly the same spot. So if we attach it to the gun, there we go, now it moves with it. And to position it more easily, you can just disable real time and the animation won't play. Okay, so now with our child actor selected, we can add a LCD counter. Let's make it a 3-digit one. So this one can go up to 999. The 4-digit one can obviously go up to 9999. So for this purpose, this one should be fine. There we go. Okay, so if this happens, it's usually a problem with the attaching a static object to a movable object. So what we can do, we can just go into the blueprint of our counter and then just set the scene component to movable. Now everything is movable. Close that back up. Get back in here. Now we go. Now it's fine. Cool. So let's scale that down a bit. There we go. And in this case, I think it'll be better to disable the housing of the display. So we can go into your child actor template, general settings, housing variation, put that on 0. Now we can see if we can position this in there. Let's just turn down sensitivity a bit more of the camera. Rotate. Okay, and let's scale it down a bit more, 0.3. There we go. Not perfect, but fine. Let's just have a look at what it looks like in game. There we go. Oh, and I can't move. That's because the collision is getting in the way. So if you want to use it for a movable situation like this, you just go back in here and disable the collision for all the mesh parts. Collision preset, no collision. Compile and play. There we go. Now we can move perfectly fine. Now obviously our counter is not working yet. So let's have a quick look at how to set that up. So in our event graph, let's see where we fire the shot, movement, spawn projectile. Cool. So there we play the sound at the location. After this, we can add our code to make the counter count down. So we can get the child actor like this, then drag off that and type get child actor. And from here we can cast to our component, to our counter, cast to BP LCD counter 3 digits. There we go. This one. Plug that in there. And now we can get the current number. And then also we can set the current number. So let's say you have a gun that can fire 5 shots at a time or 2 shots at a time or whatever. This is a good way to do it here. Then you can drag off here, say minus integer, and then you can just add in here if it's a single shot or if it's 5 shots at a time or whatever. It'll subtract 5 from your ammo. So for our purposes, we're just going to leave it at 1. And in order for it to update the display of the counter as well, after we've changed the number, we can just drag off it and say update, call the event update display. Now, if we play it, cool. Now you see it works like it's supposed to. Nice. And another thing we can do is check if you actually have ammo or not. So let's extend this way quickly. We can also do the same thing. Okay, we're not going to use the touch input for now, so let's just delete that. Just going to use the input action fire. So let's paste these things that costs to our child actor. So now it's going to get current number, and we're going to say if let's just delete this. This is still from the touch controls. If the current number is larger than 0, which means we still have ammo, then it can go through, compile, and then we can set our initial number to 10 in our child actor ammo display, and that can keep track of the ammo for us as well. Now if we hit play, we've got 10 ammo. That says 0, and if I click, nothing happens. And then if you have ammo pickups, you can, when you walk over the ammo pickup, you can in the same way just get this and set the current number to whatever your ammo, let's say it's a plus 10 or whatever. You can just add 10 to that for each ammo pack that you pick up, and then remember to update the display every time. Cool. Another cool thing with the counters, let's use the other one for this. Let's make it bigger again, just for now. Let's make this one old as well. There we go. Okay, so by default the counters have a setting to display custom number, which is awesome for ammo and life and stuff like that. Or you can set it to count up to a target number or count down to a target number. So we can have this start, let's say count up to a target number. We have it start at 0. Our target number is 10. That could be anything, obviously. So now if we start playing, it'll count up to our target number and then stop. Cool. And when it reaches the target number, it also triggers a custom event that you can use to sound an alarm or make something explode or whatever. And you can adjust the counter delay time. If you turn this down, it'll count much faster. So this is basically the time between counts. So let's make that 0.1. Just make this 100, or else we might miss it. Now if we go back, it counts up to 100 and then stops. Cool. So in the same way we can edit this. There's your event that will be triggered when the target number is reached. You can add your code that you want to happen when the target number is reached in here, and it'll trigger that as soon as the target number is reached. These timers and the counters, you'll see, also has a start timer event and a stop timer event and a reset counter event. So that's what that is good for. Is you can have it, let's say, you can see there's an auto start counter tick box. So if we untick that, then it won't start automatically. So now it's not started. Then what we can do is during gameplay, we can, let's say someone walks into a certain zone, then the timer can activate. And you can just cast to the timer and call the start timer event, and it'll start the timer from there. Cool. Okay, so there's one last thing I want to show you, the pocket watch. Let's go back into our first person character here. And let's add a pocket watch. So we can add another child actor. Watch. Okay, let's just connect that to our player, not the gun. Okay, and let's go to child actor class and select pocket watch. There we go. Cool. So we can bring that closer to the camera, make it, oh, it's still small. 1. I'm just positioning it to have a bit of a nicer look to it. So you can use this as a HUD component basically, if you want. And you'll see for the settings in here, we have all the same settings for the look, like age and roughness and metallic and stuff like that. We've got 2 different variations for the housing. And then there's a little is open tick box. If you tick that, it's open, and if you untick it, it's closed. And there's also in the code for this, you'll see if we open this up, there is a custom event that can be called to open the watch cover and can be called to close the watch cover. So this plays a little animation to open and close the cover of the watch. So let's do that. Let's go into our event graph of our first person character. And let's say right mouse button. Right mouse button. So if we press the right mouse button, we want to open the flap of the watch. So let's get the watch. Let's say we cast to pocket watch. And remember, as this is a child actor, you want to drag off this and say get child actor. Plug that in there. And from there, we're going to just check if it's open or closed. Is open. Get is open. Cool. And from here, we're going to say if. So we're going to open cover and close cover. Close cover. So if it's open, then it's true it's open. We want it to close the cover. And if it's not open, which means it's closed, we want it to open the cover. And this can also be set to display a custom time or real time, and all the same settings as your normal analog clock over there. Okay, just looks a bit strange. Just adjust it a bit more. That's fine for now. So now if we right click, it opens the clock and you can see what time it is. Right click again, closes it back up. And you can have this triggered by anything, like let's say you look down far enough, it opens up, and if you look back up, it closes automatically again. And you can just do that by checking, getting your character's pitch rotation, and say if it's less than a certain amount, it opens, and if it's more than a certain amount, it closes the watch back up again. Cool. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. Any suggestions, please let me know. My contact details will be in the description below. And thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it, and have an awesome day.